Hello, my name is Bill. I'm the pastor at Freedom's Lutheran Church here in Gibsonville, North Carolina. Thank you very much for joining me for this moment of devotion. I was getting up this morning and I was actually rooting around there in the book of Proverbs in the 24th chapter, and I ran into this proverb I'm reading it out of the Message. It's 24:27 is chapter and verse. It says, "First plant your fields, then build your barn." First plant your fields, then build your barn. And I began to think to myself, well, how do you apply this? Proverbs is a book of wisdom, and wisdom means that you hear these wise sayings and then look to live them out in some fashion in your life. And so I was like, first plant your fields, then build your barn. Does that mean start my work with what's hardest? And I began thinking about, well, let's see if you're out. I don't have a lot of experience planting in a field. I don't have any experience building a barn. However, I have seen a lumber mill in action. And to me, the two look just as hard as each other. So maybe that's not it. But then I thought, well, that's not bad advice though, right? Start with what's hardest. Then I thought, well, maybe then, start with what will take the longest. I mean, the wheat or the corn, whatever you plant in the field, is going to take a longer time to ripen and mature. So that means that I could then go and build my barn while that corn or wheat, whatever I've planted, is sprouting and growing and coming into maturity. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. Then I began to think along different lines a little bit with regard to the work. For instance, maybe what the proverb is saying is do what's most profitable first. The barn isn't going to make you any money unless you rent out space, but then why would you build a barn in the first place? Maybe if you had a renter waiting in the wings, but why wouldn't they go somewhere else and find a different space to rent? So I began thinking, well, but yeah, if I started there and I began with the harvest, then I have the time then while that's growing to build my barn. And then moving on from there, I think I finally got to the one that best applies to me. And I said, well, I think maybe what it's saying is do your work in good order. Do your work in a way that makes it so that you're doing, what's hardest, what'll take the longest, what's most profitable first. But also, too, if you think about it, the size of your harvest, the size of your anticipated harvest will determine the size of your barn. For instance, if you plant 3 acres of wheat and you're anticipating 40 bushels and you're keeping it all in bushel baskets, you know you're going to need a barn yay big. But if you plant 6 acres of wheat, you know full well if you get that 40 bushels per acre, you're going to need a barn twice as big, or 2 barns even. So how does this apply to your work, my work? How do we want to apply this? That's the beauty of wisdom. That's the beauty of the wisdom of Solomon and ultimately the wisdom of God. We take it and we apply it to our specific situation. So for some people, it might be a word to say, do what's hardest first, or do what's going to take the longest first. For other people, it might be that word that says, do what's most profitable first, or do your work in good order. What does it say to you regarding what you want to accomplish in your life today? Because ultimately, we're not really, our lives aren't determined just by our work, but about the quality of our lives. So how does this proverb speak to the quality of your life? Hey, thank you so much for joining me as I kind of wrestled with the text and thought about how to apply this proverb. First plant your fields, then build your barn. Proverbs 24:27 from the Message. I so appreciate this time with you. I pray you have a blessed day. You can see other devotions at friedens.church, FRIEDENS.church. Thank you for those of you who have sent in donations or have used the give button on our behalf there at our church website. We so appreciate you supporting our mission to love others by living the gospel. And I'll go over once again what that means on another time. God's blessings on your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.